We're on the other side of it now. 15 spring practices in the books, concluded with the maroon and gold spring practice today. Hi, everyone. For DevilsDigest.com, I'm Zach Keenan alongside our publisher, Hode Rubino, at Sun Devil Stadium. And after all these 15 practices, Hode, we've seen it all. Spring practice officially over. What are your takeaways?
Well, first of all, I think the fact that you and I are sitting here at Sun Devil Stadium, there were over 5,000 people in attendance. Things are slowly but surely getting back to normal. But I also feel that normalcy is also something that really you can see with this football team right now, because everybody who talked to after practice in the Zoom session, Herm Edwards, Jaden Daniels, defensive coordinator, Antonio Pierce, all talked about how everybody is more established. Now you had 15 full spring practices to go through as opposed to 7 last year, which, by the way, was the most among Pac-12 teams. But when you try to establish a new defensive scheme, a new offensive scheme, you can really use as much spring practices as possible. Now you have a team with loaded, veteran, proven players on both sides of the ball, people that are feeling more comfortable in the system. That really was the theme of the post-practice comments by both Herm Edwards and Antonio Pierce and quarterback Jaden Daniels, for that matter. But also some new wrinkles, if you will, is just a lot of new players showing up to the forefront. People that are looking for the tight end to get involved in the offense. Boy, if you watch today's practice, you picked a good day for that. Jalen Conyers, two touchdown passes. We heard so much about offensive coordinator Zach Hill wanting to implement the tight end more and more in the passing offense, and even the tight end group that was somewhat depleted, because of absences. Jalen Conyers comes and catches 2 touchdown passes today. So that's something that maybe wasn't quote-unquote normal in this ASU offense, but definitely a welcome addition. But overall, coaches talked about no serious injuries, no COVID issues, 15 practices really going without a hitch. And again, just everybody settling more and more into what this team wants to accomplish in 2021. Again, a team that's very, very talented, that feels that even in a 4-game season in 2020 really showed a lot of promising signs, and they just feel after spring practice in 2021, they feel even more confident that they can really accomplish all the goals they want this season.
Spring practice is usually a time for fresh faces, newcomers, whether they're transfers or freshmen, to get some more playing time as well as some exposure, some eyes on them. Out of that group, who are some of those players who surprised you or stood out to you, Hode?
Well, when you look at defense, I think, first of all, is the Philly Freak, 6'6", Eric Gentry, linebacker, and really trying to be that Isaiah Simmons weapon, if you will, if you're looking at the NFL ranks, actually pretty close over here with the Arizona Cardinals, and somebody who is not only just a physical presence, being as tall as it is, but really, even for such a tall linebacker, very athletic. It really has a good bend. So it's not somebody that can only swat passes at the line of scrimmage, which you've seen in previous practices in the spring, but really also make his presence in coverage. I mean, we talk about ASU really implementing the tight end in the passing game. Obviously, that's not only Pac-12 team that can do that, and now you have a 6'6" linebacker like Gentry that can really keep up with his tight ends, but also with the running backs coming from the backfield, and with wide receivers too, in the short and medium routes. So Eric Gentry has definitely been a pleasant surprise. Again, if you're going to nickname somebody the Philly Freak, you better live up to it. And I think just Eric Gentry has a wingspan of a 7'2" footer. That's definitely also something that really showed up a lot in spring. Another guy that really impressed me on that side of the ball is Tommy Hill, and I know that Antonio Pierce, defense coordinator for the Sun Devils, talked about guys in Florida just coming with a different confidence, a different swagger, and that's no slight for anybody that's coming from California, Arizona, or Texas, but just like a different mindset, a different mentality. And Tommy Hill just really being as physical as he is, plenty athletic too. Maybe not somebody that's really going to threaten a starter, but somebody I would definitely look for to be in the 2 deep when the season starts. Really showed a lot in spring, and also somebody that can be a weapon in the return game. I remember talking to his high school coach when he committed to Arizona State, and he talked about a guy like Hill that played over 100 snaps on any given Friday for his football team. So I think somebody that maybe somewhat of a Swiss Army knife that we can see a lot as his career progresses over here in Tempe. When you look at offense, I think one wide receiver that actually showed up today quite a bit and really showed up all spring is Elijah Badger. Because he redshirted last year, maybe somewhat of unknown to some ASU fans, but he really generated a lot of buzz with the preseason and in-season practices in 2020, and somebody that I think could be maybe in the mold of Brandon Ayuk, maybe not at that talent level yet, but when I talk to folks on ASU staff, they say that he's actually further along than Brandon Ayuk was when he first arrived in Tempe. He's 6'1" like Brandon Ayuk. Maybe not the fastest guy, maybe not the most athletic guy out there, but just a guy that just makes plays. Every time you throw the ball to him, I think he really works the sidelines really well for a wide receiver. And in such a deep group, it's also a very young group at wide receiver. I think for Elijah Badger to stand out as much as it in the spring is a great sign for Arizona State. And the running back spot, running back Daniel Nada. And I remember, Zach, you and I talked about after the Arizona game that maybe one of the positive byproducts of blowing out your in-state rival is having somebody like Daniel Nada get really as many reps as he did and really shining. And also in the game after that against Oregon State, he really did the same. Sure, it's a hard running back group to really make your presence known when you have Chip Trainum and Rashad White as the thunder and lightning of this group. But I thought Nada really showed a lot. I mean, in spring practice, really shifty, athletic guy, can do a lot of damage off tackle, a lot of damage in the open field, and just one more weapon for this really talented running back group. I don't feel that this running game is really going to be as dominant as it was in 2020 when 65% of the snaps were given to the ground attack, but it's still going to be an offense I feel that's definitely going to rely more on the run than it is the pass, and now to have just one more weapon that's gaining more and more confidence in Nagata, I think is a really big plus for Arizona State. So those are the four newcomers / seldom used players that really made their mark in the spring, and who knows if when we talk about summarizing fall camp, we don't have some new names coming to the forefront.
Shifting back to the defensive side, ASU is one of the luckiest teams in the country in that they return all 11 of their defensive starters. But even in that position, we still were able to see some fresh faces, whether it be transfers or freshmen at these spring practices. Out of that group, who stood out to you, Hode?
Well, when we talk about transfers, I think Travez Moore, the defensive lineman transfer from LSU, and I know that somebody that Antonio Pierce said that really stood out. And the defensive line was maybe kind of incomplete grade, if you will, after the spring, because they did have key players that missed the entire spring, Jermaine Lole and Tyler Johnson first and foremost, but even guys like Amiri Johnson, younger players like Joe Moore, Omar Norman Lott, barely practiced this spring. So maybe it was easy for a guy like Moore to show up the way he does, but it's still somewhat of a youngish, not a young, but a youngish defensive line group out there, and more just being a transfer and really looking as physical as he is maturity wise. I think that's a great addition for Arizona State. I definitely feel he's going to be in the 2 deep at the defensive end spot when the season starts. But he's definitely somebody that's going to show up. I think if you just look at a player that's well proven, but I still feel took another step this spring is Chase Lucas, and you did a great piece on him, just talking about how much it meant for him to be named a captain of this team. And it's not only his play on the field, but how he carries himself off the field, how he holds a very young cornerback group accountable, making sure that they do as much film work off the field as they do on the field in practice or just in film sessions with the groups. I think Chase Lucas really showed a lot in 2020, so really not a surprise. But I still feel he was able to take that extra step in 2021, and I think if all goes to plan, he can really live quite a legacy. And for him to be that local hometown hero from Chandler High School, I think really bowled really well, if that's going to be one of your leaders of the defense in 2021.
We keep talking about 2021, and all that's left is fall practice, Hode. I know it seems like we've got so much time, but I think it'll be here before you know it. Heading into fall camp, what are some things that this team needs to focus on as they approach that time?
Well, I mean, just going back to the defensive line, again, there's definitely some talent over there. There's definitely some really players that can really excite you. We talked about Travez Moore. I also think a player like Stanley Lambert, a guy that's been really through hell and back with such a severe knee injury in December of 2018. And for him really to be that athletic presence at the defensive line, I really think it was great to see. But overall, the defensive line, I'm really curious to see come August, when everybody is hopefully healthy for this group, what can we see in terms of the depth and how much they can be a force rushing the passer and really stopping the run. And obviously, really been talking the latter category, when you got that three-headed monster, as Arizona State likes to say, at running back, this defensive line, if they're going to really stop the run, that's definitely a good sign in that vein, because they definitely have a challenge each and every day in practice. So that's really what I want to see maybe on that side of the ball. On offense, I thought the passing game was just okay, and maybe ironically or not, spring practice today, the maroon and gold session, was maybe, I'm not going to say an anomaly, but to see 3 passing touchdowns in team segments, really, if we look at all the spring practices, at least that I attended, that was definitely the exception and not the norm. But this passing game, just really to get on track more and more. The question mark of who's going to be the number 2 quarterback. Is it going to be freshman Finn Collins, who I think maybe started spring on a stronger note than he actually ended it, or is it going to be Trent Bourget, a walk-on that was awarded a scholarship several months ago? Can he actually be the backup to Jaden Daniels? So just to see the passing game and that number 2 quarterback spot really come together, I think that's something that the coaches are probably anxious to see in the spring. In fall camp. But I think they saw some promising signs in the spring from that group. So really, I've had to pick two spots. Just the evolution of the passing game, really being more of a force in 21 than it was in 2020, and really the defensive line, just because again there were so many absences. Just to see this group really come together healthy in August and see what they really can do with a full deck of cards, if you will. I think those are 2 items on the to-do list for Arizona State come August. But there really is a lot of hype, a lot of excitement about this Arizona State team this year, and I really think it's justified because, again, there's a lot of proven talent coming back from last year. As the coaches said, players are feeling more and more comfortable doing more playing and less thinking about what they need to do on each and every snap, and that's definitely a good sign for Arizona State. So I think that the preseason hype that they're achieving to some extent, and maybe we'll get more and more as we get closer to August, I really think is justified. This really is a special group of players. This really is a special Arizona State team.
August seems so far away, but I promise you it's not that far, and especially with this constant recruiting news cycle, DevilsDigest.com always has up-to-date content. So while we may be done with spring football, fall football is coming up soon, and in the meantime, plenty of ASU men's basketball and football recruiting and other profile feature stories news on DevilsDigest.com. And while you're at it, give us a follow on Twitter at Devils Digest. For Hood Rubino, I'm Zach Keenan. We'll see you next time.